Good morning. We're now live on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, X, LinkedIn, and we're about to go live on Instagram if technology lets us. We should be live on Instagram also. Let's see here. Well, good morning, Dr. Kiltz. Good morning, Dr. Nelson. Good morning, Lana.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Another beautiful day in paradise. So glad to see everyone.
Yes, it's awesome. Lana, my dear, you've been
Good
carnivore
morning.
for 2 years. Is that true? 2 years?
Yes, since December of 2022.
How did you end up doing that? Finding carnivore and doing this way of eating?
It was one of those God moments. My friend that I've known for several years, but we hadn't talked in a while. She had a lot of health issues. She was diabetic and a lot of things. And so I saw her on a Zoom call. It was just like a catch-up call. I had no idea about anything about carnivore. Never really. I'd heard of it once, but I didn't really know anything about it. And she looked so great. She was smiling, glowing. I had energy, just a totally different person. And I said to her, "You look so awesome. What happened to you?" She said, "Oh, I've been on the BBB&E diet, which, bacon, butter, eggs, and beef." I said, "What's that?" I had no idea. And she'd been on it for 3 months, and she said her whole life had been transformed. And well, I thought, well, good for her. That's very nice. I'm happy for you. And I went on my way, and it never occurred to me that, it would apply to me in any way. But at the same time, I had been having trouble with my stomach. And every once in a while, I would get this stomach ache that would last for days. It would just burn and ache and burn and ache. And I would be in bed at night trying to sleep. My stomach is burning. And, I'm just like, what is going on? I'm not changing anything. I haven't done anything different. I didn't really understand anything about my diet. I was eating very clean. I was eating very healthy, and doing my best, So I was at my sister's house that Christmas of 2022. I went in on the 26th, so I was there the day after Christmas, and they had all this leftover Christmas food. Well, I'm single. I don't have family here. I didn't really do anything much as far as food goes for Christmas, and I went up there just to spend a little time. And I ate a few leftover Christmas stuff. I had some maybe one piece of pumpkin pie. I did not overeat at all. And that night I had a terrible stomachache. It was worse than any I'd had before. And I was up all night, and I came down the next day and I said, I'm not going to go to the doctor. Which to me, is a huge statement, because I hate going to the doctor. I mean, it's probably 75% of the time I don't agree with what they tell me. I don't feel heard. I don't feel seen. My daughter has chronic health issues, and I've sat in doctor's offices and been so angry. And I just didn't trust them. And so, I've got to do something. So I live 7 hours from my sister. So on the way home, I had a lot of time to think. And all of a sudden came to my mind, my friend Susan. She did something. I wonder if that would help me. At least, I thought, I could just use it as an elimination diet and find out if, that was what was doing it, something I was eating. And then add back one at a time and figure out what it was. So I thought, okay, I'm going to do that. Well, by the time I got home, I was carnivore. And I cleaned out my refrigerator, and, I went for it. I was settled. I had made a decision. And when I make a decision, it's done. And that was it. So I just started eating carnivore and never had another stomach ache after. So I just thought, oh, this is nice. I'm enjoying the relief. And in about a month, I figured I'll give it a month and then I'll see what else I can put back in. And so on January 15th, I had to fly from Jacksonville to Boston. I was speaking at Harvard University, which is pretty amazing. And I was in my car driving to the airport about an hour, and I was all of a sudden realized my anxiety was almost completely gone. I used to be so high, very high anxiety. I did not take anxiety medication because I do not take medication unless I really need it. And I was managing my anxiety and I'd work through it, and I had breathing stuff I did and these techniques. And I'm sitting there driving to the airport and feeling totally calm. I couldn't believe it because I'm always running scenarios in my head. What if I forgot this? What if I forgot that? And what about this? And what about that? And and now I had more questions. How am I going to stay carnivore while I'm eating on the trip and all of this? Nothing. Crickets. I was astounded how calm I was. And that's when I realized that the way I was eating was affecting more than just my stomach aches. This was a thing. So I became absolutely in love with the way I felt. I went through that. I gave that speech. It was kind of like a TED Talk for 20 minutes. And I was calm, and the speech went great. I had the best trip I've had in a long time, even though it was Boston in January, which caused me some anxiety before I left. Like, is it going to snow or go to 20 below zero? It was great. I just rode the wave of the time and had no problems. So, yeah, that was the way it started. And so by the end of the month, I'm totally convinced that carnivore is the way to go. And I was listening to a lot of different YouTube channels, Dr. Berry and some of the others talking about blood work and long-term and all of this. And I heard somebody that was carnivore for 20 or 30 years. And, I just realized that this is a lifestyle. It's not just a test case. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And by 2 months in or so, I decided I'm going to just continue. There's no reason for me to stop. One time I went out for lunch with some girlfriends, and they made up their minds where they were going to eat, and they decided they were going to eat in a sushi place. And I didn't really, I didn't want to eat anything there. There was nothing on the menu for me, nothing. So I thought, well, sushi's healthy. I said to myself, sushi's healthy. I'll just get, something small and have sushi. So I did. And I had a stomach ache for 3 days. So that, kind of cured me of cheating. I didn't want to cheat. I felt good. I was happy. And I felt also so satisfied because in the past, after dinner, I would be prowling through the kitchen. I'd be looking in every cabinet in the refrigerator every 30 minutes. Just what else can I eat? What else can I eat? I have this gnawing, this grinding feeling in my midsection. It wasn't hunger. I realized later it was anxiety. It was stuffed emotions and all of this. And I'm eating to calm myself. And that was gone. That was completely gone. I'm not prowling through the kitchen anymore. And what a relief it was. I thought I was going to live in misery for the rest of my life. Every night from dinner till bedtime, I was going to be in misery, but it's gone. And so there have been so many wonderful benefits that I've had that I have no desire whatsoever to go back and eat sad again and be sad again.
I love that. It's so amazing.
What was the talk about?
Oh, oh, that's thank you for asking that. The title of the talk was "Never Date a Narcissist Again." How I cracked the code on why I'm attracting all these narcissists into my life. Yeah.
Why are we attracted to narcissists?
Well, they're attracted to us because we are compliant. We're too nice. We let them push us around and insult us and all these that we just smile and take it. And that's from the first interaction. So they go around testing. They're pushing. They'll push on you to see your reaction. And then when you're compliant, they'll push a little harder, see how far they can go, because they have agenda. And as women, if especially for me, because I had been abused as a child, my mother's definitely narcissistic. She was, and I was groomed from a child to let people push me around and, beat me up emotionally and take it. And so when people did that to me, I just shut down and smile and act like it wasn't affecting me. So therefore I married a covert narcissist, and I had bosses and landlords and other people that were treating me that way. And I would just absorb it and not make waves until, until I did. Left my 30-year marriage. And I had a string of, well, I shouldn't say a string, maybe 2 or 3 boyfriends that were that way too. Until one day I said, wait a minute, I'm doing something here. I've got a bullseye on my chest. They're coming for me, not the person on this side, not the person on that side, me. What am I doing to create this situation? And then I realized, and I did a lot of reading and all that, but the upshot of the speech was I went into my marketing training to find the answer, because I was the target market of the narcissist, and I was complying. I was qualifying myself. I was qualifying myself by my own behavior. And if you stop it in the beginning, you don't have to deal with those people. Just say no. If they do something you don't like, say no or ignore them and don't comply. Just be yourself. You don't have to be ugly. Just be strong. And a lot of times, just a look. If somebody pushes me now, I just give them a look and I move on. I move away from them and they don't pursue me. So it's so simple to avoid those people. If you just stand in your own power, be calm, don't let them get you rattled, and move on. Just leave them, walk away.
Do you think that carnivore has helped in your transition, your ability to handle these situations in our lives?
Absolutely, because I'm calm. I'm very calm and grounded now, and people don't knock me off my balance anymore. So absolutely, it has. Yeah, inner strength
And love. I always say love and let go.
That's right.
But always
Exactly.
love. Always love. Just
Yes.
sometimes I love you. Thank you. Bye.
Yes. And energetically, I've learned to emanate love from my chest space without words. And that does more than any amount of words you could ever say. And I'm a writer. Words are my life, But I've learned that just emanate love from the heart space, and it does more for relationships and setting the tone of a room and a conversation than anything else you could ever do. And yes, carnivore, I am grounded now. I can be in my love space. I'm not having that inner agitation that I used to have.
I always wonder, the idea that really is nothing wrong with anyone. It's all within us. It's our mind sense of what is, because the mind is the creator of the story. And the carnivore allows us to direct and control the story in a more powerful way. But more so than anything, because our our deuterium has been depleted, our nanomotors and mitochondria are working better, our ability to control our thinking, direct our thinking, more powerful than anything.
Yes, I would absolutely agree with that. And that's been my experience.
What is your primary food, your meal, your daily habit?
Oh, that's interesting. I love ribeye steak. That is my favorite. Ribeye is my go-to if I ever go to a restaurant that serves the steak. And if I go to a restaurant, I want to go to a steakhouse, but that's not always possible because of who I'm with. But ribeye is my number one thing that I love the most. But for my daily cooking, if I can find a T-bone steak, or sometimes there's one grocery store that has a great meat department. It's a small independently owned grocery here in Lake City, and they have T-bone steaks sometimes, like 3 in a pack for $25 or something like that. I mean, it's a really good price, and I'll grab those when I see them. But for day to day, I do ground beef and I mix it. I found that ground beef, it gets dry. It gets too dry for me, and I buy the 2773 ground beef with a lot of fat in it. But still, I just get like I just have a problem with it eventually. So I started mixing ground beef half and half with lamb, lamb. I love that combination. So I'll get a pound of ground beef, a pound of ground lamb. I'll mix them together and season them. And then I'll either make a giant hamburger, like a 12-ounce hamburger, or some meatballs, or whatever I do with that. And that will be a meal, like 3 days of meals for me. And sometimes I'll do ground pork, just depending on my mood. So I have ground beef and ground pork and ground lamb in my freezer all the time. And a lot of days, that's what I eat, and I love it. I enjoy it. I always save my bones and make bone broth. Sometimes I'll buy some bone, like neck bones or something. But I do keep bone broth in my freezer all the time. It's so easy. I just pile all these bones in my crock pot, add some water, a little bit of salt, and cook it overnight and strain it, and I'm good. I strain it because I want to get the little fine bones out. I don't want to bite into a little chunk of bone.
What bones? What bones?
If there's like when they cut the meat, there's sometimes little chips of bone in there, and I don't want that in my bone broth. So I will strain the bone broth. But then I put it in jars and freeze it in my deep freeze. And then I'll just pull out a pint at a time and thaw that out, and I can throw meatballs in there, or sometimes I'll cook a roast. I love chuck roast, and I'll cook a roast in my crock pot, and then I will chunk that up and put it in my bone broth. It's kind of like beef stew without anything else. It's very satisfying. So those are really my things. I do eat eggs once in a while. Sometimes I'll get on an egg kick. I don't eat eggs every day or even every week, but I'll have scrambled eggs, or throw some meatballs in a pan and pour scrambled eggs over top of them and make like an omelet type of thing, or frittata or whatever. I stopped drinking coffee about 3 months in. Before I was so addicted to my coffee that I would become angry if I couldn't get coffee the way I wanted it. But if we were traveling, because we did a lot of traveling, and I could not get my coffee right, I would be upset. Like it's going to ruin my entire day. And it was the sugar that was really what I was after. So I didn't know that at the time. And once I stopped putting sugar in my coffee, I stopped liking coffee. And one day I was drinking my coffee, my morning coffee that I used to love so dearly. And I went, I don't even like this. This is just a habit. I don't like it. Why am I doing this? Because I knew caffeine wasn't good for me. And so I said, that's it. I'm just not gonna drink coffee anymore. and I just quit drinking coffee. Well, I got sick. Oh my gosh, I got sick. I was sick for 5 days. I had muscle aches. I felt like I had the flu. And I realized how much coffee was affecting me. And so after that, I had no desire to go back to coffee. You could drink it around me. I can smell it. I don't care. But one time when I was in that phase of trying to figure it out, I tried to put artificial sweetener in my coffee just to see if I could do it that way because I wasn't liking my coffee. You think it was stevia. I got stevia because I thought, oh, this is the healthy choice, for sweetener. And I put stevia in my coffee, 1 pack. And an hour later, I was hit by a sugar craving that was off the chart. I was in agony. I was pacing the floor. I had this horrible, horrible feeling in my core. It was the worst feeling I've had that I can ever remember. It wasn't pain exactly, but it was agonizing. And I couldn't work that day. I work at home. I couldn't work that day. I ended up on my bed with my fists tight, just saying, please let me get through this. Please let me get through this. And it lasted for hours. It lasted for 3 or 4 hours. It was the most horrible experience I've ever been through. And when it was over, I felt depleted. I felt exhausted. I got out of bed and I went to the kitchen and I stood in the middle of my kitchen and I said in my spirit, I'm an addict. I'm addicted. And my brain craves sugar. And it got a little hit of sweetness and it went crazy. I cannot do sweet anymore. And at that point, I cried. It was a moment in my life. It was a turning point in my life where I stood in the middle of my kitchen. I cried and I realized I will never, ever eat mashed potatoes again because the carbohydrates were feeding that addiction. No more mashed potatoes, no more mac and cheese, not just while for a few months while I work on this carnivore thing ever in my life. And I know they tell you, because I've talked to people who have done, the 12-step program for addiction and all that stuff. And they say, don't ever say never. Don't ever say you'll never, because it's too hard. Just say, I'm going to get through today. Well, I'm going to tell you one thing. I said, I will never, because I made a choice. I made a decision and I dealt with it in the moment and it was done. And now looking back, that's kind of how I do my life. I left my ex-husband that way after 30 years of marriage. I came to that crossroad and I said, I have to leave. I can't help. I've been trying to hold the family together for 20 years and I can't do it anymore. I have to leave. And I left. So part of that's my personality, but there was something that changed in me that day. And I finally understood some of the problems that I'd had with my health, where I'd go on a diet and then fail, go off of it. And I could not hold on to anything I was doing. I always drifted back and all of that. Well, just say no to the sweet taste. That was going a little deeper than anything I'd ever done before. And it took some emotional grieving, because that was how I soothed my nerves. It was how I soothed my body. And since then, I have my YouTube channel, and I talked to a few experts, some scientists around this idea of carb addiction and what happens to the brain and all that. And I realized that I was just as much an addict, as an alcoholic or someone that's on some drug, because carbohydrates were my thing and had been all my life, because that's the way my mother cooked. And she was also very much addicted to carbohydrates, the same thing that I was doing. And all the women in my family are heavy. And we thought it was genetics. Well, actually, it's not. It's carb addiction. Yeah. Yeah.
I always say that, well, our obesity is instinctually driven because famines were pretty common, and our abundance of food is a little over the top, and that's the biggest problem. We have too much food security. We evolved on food insecurity, and that's the really big thing. And I imagine that, let's just say we're omnivores and we did eat some fruits and vegetables, that were sweeter because it got us fat, but we've created an environment where it's just too easy. It's always there, right? It's the flours and sugars and all the substances that we create out of flours and sugars, which make it a constant party.
Yes, and my attraction to the Food Network and recipe books, it was a whole part of my life, this food thing. I wrote 2 cookbooks.
We love cooking shows.
Yeah, cooking
We
shows.
love it.
Yeah.
What about alcohol?
I never was a drinker. I've never been a drinker in my whole life. I tried it one time. I hated it, and I never went back. So when people offer me alcohol, I'm just like, I don't drink. I don't have to give them a reason. So I never really developed that at all. I'm so grateful that I didn't, because, I do have an addictive personality. So, yeah.
Do you think it's the nature of humans?
Self-soothing, absolutely. If it makes you feel better, you're going to go for it, because.
Well, that gets us reproducing, surviving and reproducing. Ultimately, it's built in our genes, right? So there's nothing. I always say there's nothing wrong with us. We're just living in the wrong environment. We should go back 50,000 years ago, right, Dr. Nelson?
I don't know. I do like some of the comforts that I have now that I would not have had then.
I like to drive my car and fly my airplane, go from point A to point B. I can walk some, but walk the whole distance, it's not so easy.
I love a hot shower. I gotta tell you, I love a hot shower.
Someone's asking in the chat, did you ever smoke, Lana?
No, I was never attracted to smoking. My grandparents smoked, and I hated the way their house smelled and the way that my clothes smelled when I left their house. Both of them smoked 2 packs a day, so you can imagine what their house was like. So I was never attracted to smoking. It was distasteful to me from the beginning.
Let's get this question.
Sure, Stevie. What about vegetables? Stevie Wood. What about vegetables you grow yourself? I have a small garden: tomatoes, squash, green beans, zucchini, and cucumbers. Been carnivore 4 months, and will be about 4 months, a month or so before they're ready. What do you think?
As far as gardening goes?
As far as eating your own vegetables that you make.
Oh, eating your own vegetables. Oh, I see.
Well, you can do both of that. You can talk about the act of gardening and then the act.
Oh, yeah. That's true. What do you think, Lana?
Well, I have just started to put some flowers out. So take the gardening in another direction is what, my thought was, because vegetables aren't all they're cracked up to be. And I know everyone tells me you must be having supplements and all this because you're not eating vegetables. And I don't. Yeah, I don't take a multivitamin or anything like that. I feel better than I've ever felt in my life. So I think the whole gardening thing, and I moved to Florida and I thought, I can have a nice garden and all this. But why? We work so hard in gardening, sweating and all this and bugs and dealing and frustration. The chickens got out and they're in my garden, or the rabbits are here or whatever, and fighting off nature. Why? I mean, all that effort, all that labor, and it isn't even good for you. I don't.
If you think about it, I mean, agriculture basically required peasants, slaves, soldiers, and prisoners. And then he's talking, you plant them, you got to wait months before they're available. So ultimately, we've created an environment that's destroyed our environment. And really agriculture is our biggest problem.
With
Doctor,
all the
did I see a little bit of thought?
Are you talking to me?
No,
Did-
Dr. Nelson.
Okay.
Oh no.
We've got about 30 people on Kilt's Mighty Tribe. That's the only one that we're not
Awesome.
yet able to sort of link to StreamYard.
Right.
We got let's see, Brazil is here. Carnivore 2 years. Teresa Unter, Carnivore 2 years, 7 months. Low carb 12 years. Never go back. Type 1, 41 years. Type 1 diabetic. Amazing. And I think if I saw Amy here somewhere. Brisket boomers.
In the group?
Yeah, I saw her
Mighty Tribe?
somewhere. I did see her somewhere in the group, and this crazy carnivore space. And there was I sent you an article this morning, Alia.
I saw the guy that said he fixed his life, his wife
Right.
and him are better because of carnivore.
It was
Alex,
Alex,
his marriage.
Fixed
Yeah.
his marriage.
and because our anxiety, depression, ADHD, our narcissism, which is all mental dysfunction secondary to plant protein, low-fat diet. And I'm wondering if your ex, maybe, and many people that we run into, their brains are damaged.
Oh, wow. That's a really great thought.
Well,
'Cause
I mean, ultimately,
Yeah.
we have to know that all the dysfunction of the brain is some inflammatory process, which is
Yes.
a chemical, an antigen, a sugar fermentation, which is one of our biggest problems.
Yes. Because he was very addicted, it still is very addicted to sugar. He would go in after Easter and buy all the 50% off candy. When we were traveling, we traveled a lot. Was part of the job. Was driving in the car, and he would have a bag of candy under the driver's seat, and be eating candy the entire trip. He put it under the seat because he didn't want the kids to know that he had candy, because they'd want it, and he wanted the bag all to himself. So he would just put it under the seat and reach his hand down there once in a while and pop a piece in his mouth without telling anybody. So yes, absolutely, very, very addicted to
That
sugar.
is-
I wasn't that addicted to sugar when I first married him, because I was addicted to carbohydrates, potatoes, that kind of stuff.
Which is sugar.
Yes, it's just sugar once removed, absolutely. But then once I was with him, I started to eat more sugar too.
Well, the majority of sugars are actually not sweet. And basically plants take carbon dioxide in the air and make a long chain carbon particle called sugar. And, there are hundreds of sugars out there, but the majority are not even sweet. And remember, think of an apple or a pear or, all the fruits, they only have a very short sweet time. And some of them never get sweet.
Mhm.
And the sweetness is primarily the fructose. The glucose is not as sweet. A starch is pure glucose, which is not as sweet as fruits. Fruits have a combination of glucose and fructose. There's a question here. You start
About
yeah.
from Jan Buford.
Yeah.
What do y'all think of chicken gizzards? My mom used to eat them. I'm thinking about getting some today. I'm frying them up in bakeries. That sounds delicious. That's what I'm going to say.
One of my favorite dishes growing up that my mom made was a gizzard stew that she made. So grew up eating them. The gizzards are the stomach. You have to know how to prepare them so they don't get to stay tough. But they're great to me.
Yes, absolutely. I love chicken gizzards. One of my favorites as a child. Put them in the crock pot for several hours so they get soft, and wrap those babies in bacon and put them in the oven. Oh my gosh. That's amazing. I get so
We have
excited
the
about my
Dr.
food.
I'm healing humanity. So this is the cutting board. We got a healing humanity board. We also have a Kills Health board we're coming out with. But
Awesome.
what's this made of? Sugar.
Hmm.
The simple story, right? It's a long chain carbon particle made into roots, stems, seeds, right? Branches, flowers, leaves. It's all the same product. It's just in different
Configuration.
configurations. Yes. My brain's not there yet.
One of our hens died, and it was mainly eating papaya, this hen. It was the most delicious chicken I have ever eaten in my entire life. I almost ate the entire thing myself. But there you go. It was a sweet chicken.
Papaya is a natural meat tenderizer.
Okay. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I won't eat chickens in the States. I tried it last time I was there. It's so gross. But in Colombia, they taste good. For the people that are saying chickens are gross. It depends what they're fed, I guess.
But
And
you
how
ate
they're
the
raised.
chicken and the skin. And
Yeah.
the problem is, the modern world is it's chicken, fish, and turkey, and they're all lean.
Yeah.
No
Mhm.
fat. And fish is highly toxified from the poisonous waters of the world.
Right.
And the microplastics and all those sort of things. Right?
Mhm.
I still love my sashimi.
Raw
But you
fish?
don't. But we don't eat chicken raw.
No, we don't.
But I
Either.
imagine if it was a fresh kill,
Maybe.
I just don't do chicken very often. I like duck. I think duck is really good, but I don't eat much of that. I love duck livers. I mean, I don't do the gizzards. I'd go right to the liver. I don't know that, it's but with the millions of chickens being produced and processed, there are a lot of gizzards and organ meats out there because most people aren't buying them, are they?
Right.
Where are they going? Where are most of them going?
Dog food.
Along with some carrots.
Dogs love carrots.
Well, they're fed that, right?
I know.
I guess if you throw some sweet in the food, I imagine there's some sugar in dog food and cat food also.
Yeah, I'm sure. I don't know. Is duck red meat? Chuck Sneva, I'm probably saying his name wrong, says it's red meat, but I don't think, does it have multiple stomachs? A duck?
No, it does
Well,
not.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Maybe it
It's
just
still,
looks red.
yeah, red meat. But the beauty of duck is it's fatty. It's much fattier. But you got to still that they store a lot of fat for their migrations. I mean, basically, fat is the only fuel for the mitochondria, no matter what.
No matter what. And then Eve says she eats raw chicken. Organic from Sainsbury, UK. Well, she's still alive to tell us the story, so it can't be that bad.
The industrial production of chicken and fish and turkey. I mean, there was another article also about plants, lettuce. They're the number one recalled product. Ribeye steak is never recalled.
Right. All right. I will say when I had an infection after a C-section, people were telling me that it was because I ate so much red meat during my pregnancy. And I'm like, now I'm looking back, I'm like, no, it was probably the junk food that I ate alongside the red meat.
Well, it was the
Or
plant
whatever.
food.
It was
But
the
when we
plant
use the
food.
word junk food, we're always talking about processed plants.
Right. That was the plant food.
Right. So I mean, but people also use the word healthy diet to signify a plant-based diet, right?
Right. Don't blame the meat for what the sugar did. The plants did. No, the plants did. Don't blame the meat for what the plants did.
Right, because people say, "Well, I didn't eat sugar because I only eat fresh fruits and vegetables," right? And that's which ultimately is deadly.
It's fresh. It's fresh sugar.
Fragua, Teresa under says from Kills My Tribe KMT. I love fragua. It's amazing.
That's duck liver.
Well, it's duck liver or goose liver.
Oh, okay. That sounds great.
Yeah.
What about lamb? Sisse would like to know. What about lamb?
Yeah, she mentioned that she likes eating lamb, ground lamb mixed with beef, right?
Yes, I love lamb chops and any kind of lamb. You know, not on a steady diet. My main thing is beef, but I do love lamb. For some reason, lamb, I get tired of it quicker than I do beef. But I do love it. It's a very gentle meat. It just feels really good. It feels good in your stomach.
Growing up, I had more often goat. Very similar anatomy, but a little bit different taste.
But ultimately, beef is the best. Beef is the best.
Beef is the best.
Yeah.
Fattiest meat, the best meat.
Did anyone have any other questions? Do we get them all? Let's see. And so here's my public service announcement. Hashtag Lana to get a chance to win your Kills Health electrolytes. And if you would like coaching, one-on-one coaching with Dr. Nelson, the link is below. There you go. Below in the show notes.
Coaching?
The link is in the show notes.
But you could also go to Kills Mighty Tribe, drkills.com, Dr. Nelson's website, all these together. Get that. So tell us a little bit about your social media presence and what is it you love to talk about and share, Lana?
Well, I started my YouTube channel, Carb Addict, now Carnivore, to bring some more science into the conversation because there was a lot of talk at the time that, just about personal experiences. And I wanted to interview some experts, which I did. I haven't been active on the channel for a little while now because I've had some other projects that I've been doing. But I still follow some people on YouTube to stay up with what's happening. It really helps so much to be talking and listening to people that are in the carnivore world to make sense of it, because everywhere you go, they tell us we're upside down, that what we're doing can't work. And you really need to surround yourself with information and people that are on the same page to keep yourself, feeling like you're straight. you're okay. Shouldn't use the word straight these days. But you're going on the right path. And so yeah, I still follow all of that. Although because I've been now carnivore for almost 2.5 years, it's become normal for me, and I don't need propping up, really. This is just my life. But I do love these conversations because it helps me to stay grounded. And also today I had an aha moment. This conversation gave me an aha moment. I'm going to share it with you here because I find that so much of our life is upside down because of marketing, a lot of marketing. Like you have to eat breakfast to be healthy. I believe that. And I used to feed my kids breakfast, religiously, hot breakfast every morning. That's totally farcical. It's better to do intermittent fasting and eat in the afternoon. So what I just had for today was that the people who eat plants only, and they do it like it's a cause, and they condemn people that eat any meat at all, are actually the ones destroying the planet because they have all this agriculture with all the chemicals and all this raising and flattening of, the land to put in these massive farms with this giant equipment. And the chemicals are just running, like abundantly across the landscape. They go in and kill everything first. saturate the ground with fertilizer, put in the seeds, which are coated with poison, and then pour on pesticides. And then they want to say, oh, this is the healthiest thing you could ever do. And they're actually the ones that are destroying everything. It never occurred to me until now. So thank you for that.
A healthy diet is deadly.
It is. Yes.
Healthy, organic, clean are all basically marketing terms, as you mentioned. We're just marketed to be domestic animals.
Right.
What's the other question here from Amanda?
Does carnivore have anything to do with the ovarian cyst rupture? Been carnivore for 30 days. That's for you, Dr. Kiltz.
Well, if you look at goitrogenic foods basically damage the thyroid gland, but those goitrogenic foods cause cysts and tumors and swelling and dysfunction, damage, and death to cells and organ systems. And so I would say the answer is 100% yes. A carnivore will help reduce and or eliminate the causative agents from what we breathe, drink, and eat. But obviously, there's still stuff in the air, things we drink that microscopically you can't even see. And they could be factors, but I think there's significant improvement.
Okay. So is it a good thing that an ovarian cyst ruptured? Is that a good thing? If an ovarian cyst ruptures, is that
ovulation requires a cyst to be developed, a follicle which contains the egg, and then it naturally releases and or ruptures to release the egg.
Okay.
That's normal and natural. But when we talk about ovarian cysts, there's a lot of pathologic ovarian cysts, polycystic ovarian syndrome, endometriosis, and a lot of benign and malignant cysts in all organs, but the ovary is one of the most common cystic producing structures. And so carnivore will help reduce that. And again, a cyst develops and either regresses on its own, or it ruptures and regresses, or it causes a lot of more pathology, pain, torsion, bleeding, exsanguination, even death. Have been known to happen.
Oh, wow. She says that there's been a lot more pelvic pain. I could chat with her in the chat. I'm just curious, what exactly is she eating? Is it lean? Is it high fat?
Well, it is, again, it's a lot of the damage and disease is there, and it may never completely heal. And being really strict, fatty meat, not lean meat. This is one of the problems. People miss fatty meat, fasting, eat one meal a day is my recommendation. Lana sounds similar, and I don't do breakfast of any significance, but all the diseases we suffer from is the plant fermentation and the microbes that go out the rectum anus into the vagina, cervix, uterus, tubes, and cause a lot more damage and disease. Basically, it's our diet.
Dr. Kills, isn't breakfast the most important meal of the day?
I guess it depends on where you're at in this world at the time of day. But when I was in Australia, I did eat some breakfast from time to time, and they had great eggs and steak along with that. It was amazing. But no, I think could you do one meal a day and make it morning when you wake up versus afternoon or evening? You can, but I think evening meal is the very best to me.
Well, breakfast being the most important meal of the day, it was something that was started as a marketing concept by Kellogg's.
So Tony the Tiger? Tony the Tiger?
Yeah. And the person in charge of marketing at the time was a nephew of Sigmund Freud. And he was an expert psychologist, marketer as well. So what the best lies are lies that involve mostly truth, right? Half truth. Breakfast might be the most important meal of the day. It just doesn't matter when you break the fast. I think you can break it at 8 a.m. You can break it at 2 p.m. That's breaking your fast. That's what the word means, right? Break fast, break. So Yeah, it's the most important meal of the day. That meal should be basically a low carbohydrate, high fat diet, period. But it doesn't really matter if you break it at 3 p.m. or at 9 a.m. So this is where the half truth comes in. You know, they wanted you to have your cereal and milk, and you know, I have apologized to my children them to feeding them when they were growing up. The low sugar Cheerios with the skim milk.
Oh God.
I mean, that's what we grew up on: Kellogg's Corn Flakes, Cheerios, skim milk, toast, margarine, fake eggs, all this stuff. And we need to get back, should we have a low carb diet, or should our diet really be animal based, fatty meat, bacon, eggs, butter, beef, salt, Kiltz's ice cream from time to time?
Yeah. Marketing is the art of getting people to buy something they don't need to solve a problem they don't have for an amount of money they really can't afford to spend.
Gee, who's the amazing marketer that wrote that one? That's a good one. That is
Dr. Nelson.
The malls are now at the airports, by the way. The malls are closing down, but they're at the airports.
Sure.
You walk through an airport, it's a mall.
It is. It is. It's true. Yeah. Oh, I wanted to say I've been making uncured bacon because that's all I can get here in the morning with scrambled eggs. And it's just so nice. My daughter, this is delicious.
It's pork belly.
It's pork belly and eggs. Oh my God.
Eggs with what? Eggs with what?
Like eggs with bacon grease, eggs, scrambled eggs, pork belly in the morning. She loves it.
I love pork belly. I love pork belly's like candy. That's like candy to me.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And I just try to keep them fed very well because they're very thin, my kids. So I have to keep putting the food, and I'm worried about that famine.
They'll be fine.
They'll be fine. Okay.
They'll be fine.
Okay, good.
Remember the liver is our main storage and production of fat.
Mm-hmm.
So, most people, again, they're eating rendered fat because we cook the bacon. You got to eat the raw bacon, the raw meat. That's the healthiest thing for us, for sure.
That's true.
What other tidbits do we have there, Dr. Nelson?
I want to ask Lana. She's mentioned a lot about the mental benefits she's had, but any other benefits you've had that you have?
Oh, yes.
I mean, did you have any of the major stuff like diabetes, hypertension? Did you have any weight loss?
Yes. I didn't have any of the diabetes, I didn't have any of that. But I lost about 50 pounds without being hungry. It was amazing. And my hair no longer is gray. Now, I know that's not a given that you're going to lose your gray hair. I'm 67 years old, and my skin is healthy and smooth. People say to me, "What are you doing? Well, your skin looks so good." Well, it's what I'm eating. And my eyes have improved, and I passed my driving test last time without my glasses.
Me too, last February.
It's amazing. I feel like my age is getting younger while the numbers are getting higher,
I always thought you were in your.
By the way, last week I went to have my hearing test again. I do wear hearing aids, and my hearing has improved over the past 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. the aches and pains, that I used to have in my knees, all that stuff is not there anymore. Just vitality. I went on a trip to see my children. My children are in Delaware, which is about 20-hour drive from my house here in Florida. And I flew up there. And normally after flying and all that, I would be tired the next day. The next morning, I went over to my daughter's house and I said, I feel like cleaning. What do you want me to clean? She said, well, you can do the kitchen if you want, and I started working in the kitchen. I'm happy. I'm going. And she looked at me and she's like, wow, I have never seen you end a trip like this. This is amazing.
You get more energy and you
Yeah.
recover faster, because you may develop some minor aches and pains by doing things, but you recover faster.
Yes, absolutely. I have energy, and it's clean energy. It's not the foggy brain. I used to have foggy brain a lot, not anymore. So yeah, somebody said to me, are you still working? I'm like, yes, I'm still working. What else would I do? I mean, I have so much energy. I have to do something, so it's been wonderful. It's been amazing the way I feel and the improvements that I've had in my life.
Do you have any favorite books that you have read and recommend to others that in either the nutrition or the mindset or the narcissistic set and things like that, or any of the books that you find might be helpful for us?
I listen to audiobooks, and I don't know if this book is in print or if it's only in audio. But Bob Proctor has a audiobook called Change Your Paradigm. It's about changing the way you look at life. And the reason why we have a difficult time changing is because we see the world in a certain way. And if we keep looking at it in that way, we'll never be able to make any good changes in our life. We'll just end up back where we were. We can't see the good or whatever. And this idea of eating meat only, or I should say animal-based products only, is a change in your paradigm. It's a change in your viewpoint of the world, because everyone around you is talking in different ways, including your family and your friends and colleagues you go to lunch with or whoever. I had a lady scolding me. That was a business contact. And Sandy, yes, I live in Live Oak, Florida. So I go to Lake City all the time. We should get together. I would love that. I would absolutely love that.
Aww.
We need a meetup. We need a meetup. Bob Proctor is amazing, and so many other people that like Bob Proctor. I know our good friend Ben Azadi's got a new book out, and he's a big fan of Bob Proctor. And I love Bob Proctor tremendously. And listen, and I do Audible books. I read books. I think Audible's a really, really great. I'm listening to Incognito, David Engelman, The Secret Lives of the Brain. Basically, the brain is only telling a story. And all truth is just a story.
It is.
All right.
I'm putting my email address in the chat in case someone wants to reach out to me with questions or whatever. Or Sandy, let's get together for lunch.
Fun. That's
What's
awesome.
your YouTube channel? Is that
My YouTube channel is Carb Addict Now Carnivore. I'll put that in.
Yeah, you have it. It's on your picture there.
Yeah, somebody wants to copy and paste it, they can. Thank you so much for this conversation. What an encouragement it's been to me today. I appreciate you guys so much and what you're doing.
Lonnie, you're amazing. We so appreciate you also. Shall we do the giveaway?
We should do the giveaway. Let's do the giveaway. Drum roll, please.
What are we giving away today?
Electrolytes to CB Carmack. Yay!
CB.
Congratulations. Email me Alia at Dr. Kilt spelled out. Alia at drkilts.com. Please spell out doctor or it won't arrive. There you go. Maybe I'll get a DR Kilts also to just be routed to that email. There you go. Congratulations, Lana. Thank you so much for joining us at this very early hour of the day.
I appreciate you guys. Love
5
you guys.
a.m. anymore.
Thanks. Thank you. Because that's like 4 a.m. for me.
Today we have a live at 4:15.
4:15 with semi-retired Bob. We planned that like months ago, so I'm really excited about that. We love Bob.
Oh, he's great.
Yeah.
I have a small risk of traveling. I'll let you know, and I'm going to try to be down there. Just a short one. So
okay.
I can get to Toronto. I might try to split up there today, but if not, tomorrow morning.
Okay. All right. Well,
are you going to be in the afternoon at 4:15?
I'm planning on it, but
okay.
I've got to travel. I'm traveling up to Toronto, and it might happen this afternoon, but I'll work it one way or another. So
okay.
All right. Well, goodbye, everybody. We'll see you later today then. Goodbye.
Lana, God bless you.
Thank
God
you
bless
for
everyone.
being here,
Thank
Lana.
you. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.